Come on. They talk to us. How this dating thing? Because it's Mo is different now than when you and I.
It's different, baby. I'm grateful I'm not 56 and trying.
But you tried to say what you tried to say. Mo,
I'm looking right at you.
I know you looking at your.
I ain't backing down. You better take your old ass and get somebody to love you.
Damn, Mo.
Now I'm looking right at y'all. Let me tell y'all what Shannon needs.
Let me
tell you what my baby needs. He need him an old fat gal who can bake good cakes, make some smothered turkey wings, who gonna rub his feet at the nighttime, okay, and gonna have a sip of his cognac to make him feel better about himself when he come home at night. That's what Shannon needs. You don't need no 26-year-old girl. You don't need no 36-year-old girl.
I know.
This is your auntie talking to you. Take your old ass and get you an old out there that can love you old. You trying to hang out with these young and you can't do it, Shannon. You just can't do it. These young gals will bite you. Okay?
To my family, friends, supporters, and colleagues, I want to speak to you directly and from the heart. This is a shakedown. I'm going to be open, transparent, and defend myself because this isn't right. This is all being orchestrated by Tony Busby, who has targeted Jay-Z. Tony Busby targets black men, and I believe he's going to release a 30-second clip of a sex tape that tries to make me look guilty and play into every stereotype you could possibly imagine. That video should actually be 10 minutes or so. Hey, Tony, instead of releasing your edit, put the whole video out. I don't have it, or I would myself. You know what happened, and you're trying to manipulate the media. The encounter in question took place during the day at her invitation, and now that appears to be a deliberate setup, coordinated by Gabby, also known as Carlet on OnlyFans. Gabby and Tony Busby want $50 million. What they're getting is sued for defamation and trying to take me down. My career is all about real talk and honesty. I know my family and fans know exactly what this is about. And I'm going to be out there telling you whatever I need to say, just like I always do. I love all you guys. Thanks.
Y'all, God has been warning men against prostitutes since day one. But dude's still getting caught up. Listen, God ain't lying. He knows what he's saying. He knows these ladies will literally destroy your life. All it takes is the wrong woman. All it takes is the wrong connection. And a man's wealth can be taken away. His reputation can be destroyed at the drop of a dime. So when he's out here saying, don't sleep with these hoes, don't mess with prostitutes, don't get together with adulterous woman, he's not trying to keep y'all from having fun. He's trying to save y'all. But folks don't want to listen. And here's the thing I found about being with the wrong kind of woman, or the wrong kind of woman for a particular man. They can bring out the worst of that man. They can bring out the worst. They can bring him to the edge. They can put him in scenarios or put emotional strain on him that will have him acting out of character. See, and that's the whole thing about this insane situation. Now we're at a he said, she said, and we don't really know the truth yet. But we do know is that there's never a situation in which a man should be sleeping around with a prostitute. And honestly, I don't think there's a situation in which a woman should be prostituting herself either. And the byproduct, or the possible byproduct of that toxic dynamic, is this whole situation we got going on right now.
Well, you're coming to LA tomorrow?
Yes.
Well, I don't know why you want to go out.
Don't worry about it, Daddy.
Well, okay.
Okay, what?
Well, I'm not really interested in getting choked, so I guess we're going.
Yeah, I might choke you in public. Big black guy chokes small white woman.
It's not a good look, Shannon.
Not a good look that you did with the shit you did to me.
Okay, well,
This is obviously a mess. I mean, there's no way around it. It is a total mess. But there are some important lessons we can glean from this situation. By now, you are probably familiar with the rape accusations that have been levied against Shannon Sharpe, just days after talks of him landing a $100 million contract. The alleged victim, who since has been revealed as Gabriella Zuniga, is an OnlyFans model and says that Shannon Sharpe essayed her and did things to her without her consent. Since then, Shannon Sharpe has released explicit text messages between them both, revealing the sexual and consensual nature of their relationship. Since she is an OnlyFans model, he alleges that she does fantasy work and other kinds of sexual acts for money, and that this is all a shakedown. So now we are back in a classic battle of he said, she said. We do know that he tried to do a $10 million settlement, which is quite revealing and leaves a lot of room for a question, and may point to the fact that there is some guilt on his part, or some truth to her allegations. But also could be that she simply has something on him that is very embarrassing and that he'd rather hide, or that he simply wanted to pay her off quietly to not interfere with the $100 million contract he was about to sign. Either way, there's a lot of the story that is yet to be revealed. But whatever it may be, this is yet another example of a black man's reputation being destroyed and torn down all over a sexual encounter with a woman. And for the young 20-year-old woman who's involved, if she was actually sexually assaulted, that is horrible and that should not be allowed. And if what she alleges about Shannon Sharpe's character is indeed true, not only is that problematic, that's likely to cost his career. And honestly, it was only a matter of time that this kind of behavior would catch up to him. But then again, who knows? This could also be a shakedown. Nobody really knows. But also the reality is, less people have empathy for a woman who chooses to sell her body for money. It can come across as less convincing and genuine when a woman chooses to sell sex for a living and has issues associated with that. When a woman does sex work, or even if it's digital sex work, and is allegedly open to doing role play and other fantasy work, it's really a blurry line between consensual and dangerous. It's just such a blurry line. But here's the bigger picture. You have men right now going out of their way to say, listen, don't mess with snow bunnies such as Umar Johnson. And while yes, we do know that this situation is a classic storybook example of how black men in the past have been ruined, false rape accusations have been going on pretty much since the beginning of American history. But let's be honest, there are also black women who can still be detrimental to black men. So I'm not just going to say it's about ignoring white women and then black men are going to be okay. No, it's deeper than that. Ultimately, a man with resources especially has a lot of risk sleeping with prostitutes and IG models. I mean, I know that kind of lifestyle can be glamorized and at times even presented as having less risk than actually marrying, and literally, God has been warning men all the way back to biblical times that there is a lot of issues associated with dealing with prostitutes. Like, it's not a good look. The thing is, dudes be forgetting that they are not always sleeping with women. Some of these dudes are out here literally sleeping with whole demons. Hyenas, women with evil spirits, females with evil spirits, however y'all want to put it. But literal demons. I mean, there are actually ladies out here who will use prostitution to engage in witchcraft. Like, they'll actually do spiritual practices behind closed doors before they get with their clients or after they get with their clients to do all kinds of dark magic. They'll use love potions. Some of these ladies will spike the man's food or drink and try to do different seances and stuff. And they'll take the semen and offer it up to their deities. Like they do weird stuff. Like, it's real out there. So, like I said, it's not like these men are just sleeping with IG models and they're leaving and there's no imprint. Some of these ladies are whole demons, okay? Or they're worshiping them. So, like, I mean, that's the problem, y'all. There are some crazy ladies out there. And while I'm not saying this is necessarily the case for his accuser, we just don't know. These kinds of situations do speak to the vulnerability that men are in when they go sleeping around and when they're basically doing what God says that you shouldn't be doing since like thousands of years at this point. All it takes is one woman to ruin your life. Now, how do you find a good woman? Well, I mean, a prudent wife is actually a gift from God, honestly. Like, you can't pull them out of the sky. A man has to be directed to hit a woman a man has to be directed to his wife from the Most High. Like, it is truly a blessing from God. But I do believe a man who is serious about positioning himself to find a woman is a lot more likely to meet her, or at least recognize her when she comes, than a man who is just simply engaging with IG models, dealing with prostitute energy, and like not really looking for something serious. At that point, you're not even in the ballpark to attract a wife or a woman of that caliber. And if you spend all your time dealing with prostitutes, you just can't be surprised when you run into some demons. But anyways, y'all, that's what I got. What y'all think about this whole situation? Hopefully the truth comes out. It's just a mess. And it's better to just avoid this situation entirely versus trying to figure out he said, she said.
That go the money. That go the money.
Oh, hey, I'm over here talking and to myself. So let me do that again. First of all, shout out to you, Gia Hamilton, with the 2 on the super chat, starting off the chat right. I appreciate you guys. Also, happy Wednesday evening. Another last minute live. I'm trying to go more live regularly when I can, when time permits. By now, you guys are familiar with this whole Shannon Sharpe situation. It's a mess. It is a mess. I mean, I mentioned this earlier in my community tab. I just posted this like maybe an hour ago, where I've noticed every single year it seems like there is a public assassination of a Black man, whether it be literally, he is actually publicly assassinated, that it becomes public discourse, whether it be through, police brutality or some other means, or also a character assassination. It's very regular. Even we had, what was it? Diddy not too long ago. That's kind of been a little bit quiet. You had Jonathan Majors, you had, Bill Cosby, R. Kelly. I mean, I'm drawing blanks. I'm sure you guys also can give me some examples. But annually, there are rituals, and I feel like I said, it shifts between character assassination or actual literal deletion. And I just feel like that's just a trend that I'm noticing. I'm like, I don't know if this is a ritual, but I kind of feel like it is. But nevertheless, Shannon Sharpe, he's next. And, this whole situation started with this she's young, 20-something-year-old IG model / previous girlfriend or previous situationship alleges that he basically SA'd her. And this happened literally just a few days after he was about to sign a $100 million deal. So of course there's a lot a lot of speculation here. This obviously looks like a shakedown. If you consider that it comes out that he's about to sign a $100 million deal, and then literally all of a sudden this girl comes out of nowhere talking about that she's being SA'd. Yes, some may look at this and be like, this is a shakedown. Others may say, oh no, she was manipulated, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's been the public discourse pretty much up to this point. But what I wanted to do too, I started off by giving you guys a quick recap of what's gone on. Obviously, allegations are going out. Now they're pretty much going back and forth. She's releasing audio, he's releasing audio, and it's this back and forth discourse, us trying to figure out what is actually right. There's a few of the things that I want to review with you guys that I think we really want to consider when you are looking not only overall at the situation, but I think what this situation points to. And men already know today that there is a lot of issues associated with dealing with 304s, dealing with, quote, modern women, basically dealing with any woman who was a byproduct of the toxic modern culture. That's been public discourse. But I think what we're seeing in this particular situation is that it's just not a level of annoyance. It's that you have ladies out here who are legitimately going out of their way to tear a man down. So it goes beyond, oh, she has a bad attitude. It goes beyond, okay, she has high expectations. It goes beyond that. It goes now to the point where it's like, no, getting with the wrong woman could not only destroy your emotional life, it could actually destroy the entirety of your life. And that's what I want to get into today, because it's a lot deeper than just, okay, modern woman and they're just being programmed to be hosts. Yes, there is something to that. But I think it's gotten to the point where it's a lot more dark and sinister. And we're seeing this based upon not only the way these ladies are acting, but based upon the results that it's producing. You said she ain't no lady. Right. So, okay. So a couple of things I want to bring up. Again, you guys, if you were hopping in here, like, share, subscribe. I'll try not to take this too long, but there were just a few of the things that I wanted to touch upon that I was not able to address in the actual video. Okay. So there is this article that I wanted to look at specifically that is basically alleging that Shannon Sharpe could actually be guilty. So, right now, as I mentioned before, we are in a battle of he said, she said. The whole point is, okay, is Shannon Sharpe credible, or is this 20-year-old or 20-something-year-old OnlyFans model credible? Now, here's something else that I think we have to really take into consideration. We have the entire society that is up in arms over a prostitute, alleging that she was sexually or sexually misused. Again, the context here is that we have someone who is professionally engaged in sex work, alleging that she was mishandled while doing sex work. This is the context. Now, I saw a comment in here earlier that was interesting where it says, you guys only deal with this kind of stuff in America, in the United States. In any other country, if a prostitute was to stand up and say, I was, sexually abused, they would laugh her out of the room and keep going. Their idea is, duh, like, you get paid. You literally signed up to be in an industry. You signed up to be in an industry where you are selling your body. Like, you are purposely getting yourself in an industry that is unsafe, where you get paid to do things that some may consider sexually grotesque, abusive, whatever. Like, that's your line of work. That's like a cook crying about having to touch food. Like, who does it? That's like a firefighter crying about getting burned. Like that. So I want everybody to remember that the context, we literally have a media, not only in America, but across the Western hemisphere. From what I'm seeing stuff come from BBC, UK, all of that, getting up in arms about truly a sex worker complaining about having issues in sex work. This is the context. This is the context. This is the context. So when we want to talk about shakedown, and when we want to talk about how, in my opinion, there is an aspect of me that wants to believe she's true, because I hate the idea of a woman going out of her way to falsely accuse a man. I think that idea to me is so deplorable. And so part of me wants to believe that she's telling the truth. But there's so many aspects of this story that literally just make no sense. And to me, that don't line up. And like I said, we want to remember the context. The context, we're not talking about a girl, just, a girl that he met maybe in a restaurant, or, a woman who maybe she graduated high school and then she started getting to college and was studying and they met, you know what I mean? That is not the context. We are talking about, let me see if I can actually pull up her photo. Because my understanding, she's still out there, y'all. She's still out there. We're talking about a woman who does sex work, like on purpose, purposefully. When I saw her last time, I saw her. I think yesterday she was still public. Now I don't know if she has since made her. I don't know if she has since made her account private. I'm not sure. But when I saw her last, I was like, yesterday she was out there. Let me see. I'm trying to see if I can find her. Because I'm like, y'all bear with me. I should have had this before. Is that it? There's a lot of Gabriela Zaningas evidently, but I think there are not as many who are actually OnlyFans models. But either way, if you're able to actually locate and find her account, what you will find is that she's out there. She's out there in bikinis. She's out there posting seductive photos. She has an OnlyFans page. She has a page. She has a business that is based upon doing sex work. That is the context. So a woman who was going out doing sex work is accusing a man of sexually misusing her. That is the context. Now, and like I said, now it is a matter of her word versus his word. Her word versus his word. Her word versus his word. In certain societies, a prostitute wouldn't even be in a conversation, or a woman who sells her body wouldn't even have the time of day. But in America, there is that leverage. Especially if, oh, here she is. Okay. I think this is her. Is that her? Oh, wait, no, that's not. Sorry, guys. I'm like, because I wanted to show you guys. She has a pretty big, I should have brought this up before. Look easy. Anyways, that's besides the point. You guys can find her. My point is, in many other societies, this wouldn't even be an issue. You're not going to have a situation in which a prostitute can go and pretty much take down someone who actually has been well respected in the industry for decades and claim not only that he assaulted her, that he assaulted her in the industry that she does professionally. This is a person who, at least allegedly, in her business, does role play, does all kinds of explicit things as a way to make money. This is what she does. So the fact that we're even having this conversation, to me, already is like, okay, y'all, this is insane. This is insane. Another thing to consider about this case that doesn't really line up. I unfortunately know women who have been essayed. I know women who have had sexual, who have been, misused in that way. And from at least what I've gathered is anyone who has gone through that traumatizing experience is not necessarily going out of their way to put themselves or paint themselves in a sexually explicit light. They're not going to do that. They're not going to have a public platform where someone can find them and see them, and they're posted in their bikinis, and they're posted in their that's not going to be there. They might hide themselves. They might actually draw away from men. They might get out of the dating zone. Like, they might start to exhibit behaviors that speak to trauma, that speak to there being a lot of trauma associated with men and associated with sexual acts. So the very fact that you have, the woman that claims to be SA'd, which again, there's still a lot of speculation around that. The behavior to me is not reflective of a woman who actually generally, to my understanding, shows abuse. You said, what happened, Sher? Yeah, I shut down the stream earlier because y'all, my internet went out. Struggle stream. Sorry. If you were on there earlier and you got cut off, there was a struggle stream. So sorry about that. That's what was going on. I didn't mean to do it, but the internet decided they just wanted it to chill. But we're just doing a quick recap. But what I wanted to talk about was just a few things about this case that seem a little bit strange to me, right? How, first of all, the fact that you have literally society taking seriously the world of prostitute. That speaks to the values of this country, because in other countries, a prostitute doesn't have really any validity. A prostitute is something that a man deals with behind closed doors that nobody takes seriously. And they're not treated as like an equal. So I'm like, but in America, in the West, it's different. So I just wanted to paint that parallel. Secondly, now we're looking at some of the different things, right? So she's alleging that he essayed her. But what I found to be interesting is, and let me show you this. Just to give you guys. I actually don't think this is her account because she actually did have an account. She had an account that was a lot. Let me see. That's why I was like, I literally saw it yesterday, and then now I'm wondering if she privatized it because like it was literally up yesterday, and it had, I think, almost more than 500,000 followers. And now it's harder to come by. So she may have actually shut it down after maybe getting people in there who was saying stuff. But what you're gonna see about Miss Gabby is that she's not playing patty cake. Her photos were like not they weren't photos that were like, okay, I'm going to college, I'm playing tennis with my girlfriend, I'm doing Pilates, you know what I mean? Like these weren't images that were completely these images were a lot more sultry and seductive. I don't think this is her actual page because this was another girl named Gabriela Zaninga who people were mistaking for her. So this is not her actual page. The page that I saw, to my understanding, actually had 500,000 followers. That was literally yesterday. But anyways, my point is, do these images look like someone who's trying to be chased? No, obviously not. OnlyFans. So again, we are, internet is literally losing their mind over an OnlyFans model claiming that she was misused while doing the work that she is paid to do. Here's another thing about this case that doesn't seem logical. I generally, when a woman is misused, there is a medical examination. I see this here. There's a medical examination. There's a police report. There's a process that a woman goes through. Again, unfortunately, I know this because I have the unfortunate experience of knowing women who have gone through this, and it can be very traumatizing. So they have to go and do a grape kit. There can be a police report. Sometimes they choose not to if they don't want to go through that process. It's more of an emotional thing. So I could understand perhaps not having a police report, maybe at that particular time, but certainly there's generally going to be a medical examination to confirm and affirm. To my understanding, there's none of that. Now, if there is, you guys let me know because I don't want to speak ill or I don't want to misrepresent facts. But to my understanding, there's no medical report. There's no police report. There's nothing to actually show that this person was assaulted. Also, let's remember that the claim is that she was misused, but then they continued to still date. It wasn't like he did something wrong and then she stopped it. She was traumatized. She went to the police. She had the medical examination. She filed the police report. No. Allegedly, these things were done, but then they still continued to date. And then things broke up. And then all of a sudden, he's about to land this $100 million deal. And it's like, oh, now. Okay, yeah, now. So here's the thing about it, right? The problem with ladies who get involved in this kind of work, this game, the 3 or 4, the whole phase, which is why I don't like it, which is why I don't like OnlyFans, which is why I don't like prostitution, which is why I don't like sex work, is because this line of work is intimately connected with manipulation. It is intimately connected. It is almost impossible to be in this line of sex work or to be in that line of work and not go out of your way to manipulate men. It's connected. There is no way in which a woman is actively engaging in basically sex work. Right, basically losing her body to allure men in. And she's not manipulating. She's not engaging in what may call a Jezebel spirit. She's not using her femininity to get what she wants and to extract what she wants from that man. And I understand, see, this dynamic is also challenging because this girl, she's young 20s. This man is, 56? Now, I think maybe when they were dating, maybe he was 54, 53. But there's a significant age gap. Right. And so obviously he has a ton of years over her. But what I'm saying is, based upon the evidence, neither party is completely innocent. You're a sex worker. That goes without saying. Shannon Sharpe has already released text messages between the two that were very explicit, where she herself said some very, very, very explicit things. None of those things spoke to a woman who was misused, a woman who was being abused, a woman who was anything but, an OnlyFans model. Missy, I'm gonna show real briefly some of the messages that were shared, right? So he shared some of these messages, and she's talking about putting on a dog collar, talking about 25K for a cheek, like really explicit things, really, 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 really explicit things. And here's again my point: when you play with fire, you can't be surprised if you get burned. When you play with fire, you cannot be surprised if you get burned. A woman who was engaged in sex work, a woman who is engaged in, and not only this, but this kind of aggressive fantasy role play. It's a super blurry line between that and then SA. It's a super blurry line. And without there being a medical examination, without there being a police report, without there being a clear understanding that she, stopped the relationship once the assault happened, without any of those things, it literally just sounds like a shakedown. It sounds like a total and complete shakedown. And I hate to jump to conclusions without having all of the evidence, right? And so I can't sit here and say fully, oh, this woman is alive, because we just don't fully know. There's still things that have yet to be revealed. But based upon the current evidence, this seemed like, yeah, she's just trying to get some money. This is what it seemed like. She's just trying to get some money from the evidence that has been presented up to this point. Now, as far as Shannon Sharpe is concerned, as I mentioned before, there's really some dudes out there who feel like, okay, not getting married or not being in a committed relationship with a good woman and hopping around with all these hoes, that it's actually a safer and less of a burden to sleep around all these hoes, sleep around with all these prostitutes, and sleep around with IG models. That's a better, safer deal. And I think that is silly. It is silly. It is to me bananas. And particularly if you are a man of means, if you are a man that has attention, if you're a man that has money, notoriety, a reputation, the last thing you need to be doing is just sleeping with a random thing you meet on IG. That's the last thing you need to do, because you are one of the easiest targets. And there have been too many men that have lost the entirety of their life, or have lost their reputation, or have completely just broken it in half over a few minutes of fun. Over a few minutes of fun. It's like selling away your birthright for a bowl of soup. If y'all that who are familiar with that story in the Bible, this person sold away their birthright just because they got hungry. You know what I mean? It's like, why would you take something that you built your entire life? You spent decades building your life and your reputation and gaining momentum in the media and all that kind of different stuff. And then you take your most intimate moments and join it with a prostitute, join it with a woman that you meet online who sells her body to other people, who posts her goods to any man or woman, quite frankly, who is willing to buy it. That don't make no sense to me. But there's people out there who really feel like that's a better deal. And it's actually not. Because that's what's getting men caught up every single day. And that's what's happening here. IG girls are active traps for celebrity. Yes, in sports. So here's also what I want to mention. So I mentioned this in the previous video that I played, or that I posted earlier, where it was like, listen, some of these ladies out here are actually, they're not just girls who are just trying to follow mainstream culture. No, some of them are actually involved in like dark magic. Like they literally use their sex work as a form of dark magic to their witch doctor, to their deity. Like they do weird things with it. And so you have some dudes who think, okay, they're just going to have a fling and then leave. And it's like, no, you don't understand that woman has gone out of her way to actually try to trap you. She's done things. She may have taken your semen. She may have given you spiked your food. Like there are legitimately some women who do weird things like this to try to trap you. Literally to try to trap you. And oftentimes what will happen is they will wait till the man seems like he's at the pinnacle of his career. They won't do it right when he's still building. No. They'll wait until the time where they are the most likely to get the most bang for their buck, and then they'll strike. We've seen it all the time. And this, I think, is what's going on based upon the evidence. Now, listen, I could be wrong. And if I'm wrong, I will stand up and say it. If there is ample evidence that comes out and shows that, no, he actually was, abusing and mistreating her, and it was some scenario in which she felt violated and he put, okay. But I'm like, just to me, the evidence doesn't speak to that by nature of the fact that we have evidence to show that he was basically tricking on her. Like literally, like he was paying for her. We know that she is an OnlyFans person who yesterday when I checked, she had over a 500,000 followers of her just basically posting really, really, really skimpy clothes, her working out, her in a bikini, her in seductive poses. And then you click her link in her Instagram and it goes for OnlyFans. So like, we know what time it is for her. And so like, yeah, based upon that evidence, it's like, yeah, dude just seems like he was following his lower nature. He just wanted to have a little bit of fun. He was being careless and got caught up and forgot that this ain't just a game. For some ladies, it's a whole retirement plan. They are out here to literally trap you. So real quick, I want to show you guys real quickly. There's this video I ran across of a channel I really like. Now this was actually, and let me actually pull this up right now. Let me pull this up really quickly, and then we can. Let me do this. Oops, sorry about that. What I'm going to show you real quick to kind of actually give you guys an example of what I was saying. Oh, where did this go? Dang it, it shut down. Sorry. Okay, man, I'm all over the place now that my my live shut down and my thing shut down, and just all the things that I had up ready to go are like now. Okay, so going back to what I said earlier about some of these ladies really be out here using this stuff as witchcraft, and they are trying to trap these dudes, and they go and take extra measures to try to trap the man even after they have had sex with him. I want to show you an example of a lady who admits to this. Now, this is coming from a channel that I like to watch called Life is Spiritual. They're actually based in, I think, Uganda, I want to say, although I think one of the producers there is from America. He's from America. Then I think he met his wife and moved to Kenya and all that stuff. But in this particular video, this is a lady. She was a prostitute. She's not a prostitute anymore, but she was a lady who engaged in prostitution back when she was younger, before she decided to give her life over to God and try to do things, differently, whatever. But she was engaged in that, and she goes on to talk about the different things that she did to actually snatch wealthy men. And she said that she actually specifically targeted wealthy men, and she generally targeted married wealthy men, because she saw that they could give her the most bang for her buck. And so, that's this interview, I think its entirety is about 2 hours, but there's a few minutes where she actually breaks down some of the different things that she did to not only attract wealthy men, but to try to secure them as long as she wanted so that they would give her the money. So I'm just going to play this example real quick, and then we can wrap this thing up.
That's how, and then the business was good. I used to have someone, and then for some time I would drop them, because for me, I didn't want it to be permanent. And then the more you're advancing, the more you have a relationship with this doctor, the more he's advancing those drugs on you. So at some moment, I had a big fish.
You had
a big fish is a rich, loaded guy.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a big fish. Men are big fished. Jesus said, I will make you fishers of men. Fishing them into the kingdom.
Yeah.
Yes.
But now,
let me say this real quick. I hear it's not fair for men in church who were not players that end up with a prostitute who is for. I'm not one into trying to force a man to. I don't believe you're supposed to try to force a man to go clean up another woman's mess. No, I've absolutely no way. Absolutely no way. I think people meet on their level. Now, if a man feels called to do that for some reason, okay, but I wouldn't force that on a man, because there's also in the church you will find women who are to this day I know virgins in the church who are like for real virgins, not out here lying, but like who are legitimately virgins, like since day one, and they are waiting to meet their husband. They do exist. Now, what I find is that women like that tend to stick together with other women and they tend to be hidden. They are not out here on Instagram like that. They're not out here in social media like that. They tend to live very private, quiet lives. But they exist. So you'll find both in the church. But I am not one that says, oh, you need to be a good holy man or be a good, honest, righteous man, and then sit up here and marry Brittany Renner and try to change her around. Like, no, absolutely no. People meet on their level with where they're at.
The world is also fishing. So
Yes.
yeah.
And there's a scripture that says that the agents will hunt for the precious life. They hunt.
Yes.
They hunt.
He has a bright destiny. He has
they check it to see it how he's doing, if he's got money, if he's a boss.
Yeah. Tell us the big fish. How
so
did
you
you
had a
find
big
this
fish.
big fish?
How big of a fish was he?
It was big.
The big fishes are watching.
We met in a club. A person would see me and then he would come to me, and then you can sense how he is with the kind of alcohol he's taking.
The labels.
Yeah. The car.
His SUV, Mercedes, Hammer.
How he's talking, how he's treating you. There's a way they talk and there's a way they treat someone. So I called my prophet and then I told him, I found this guy. And then he told me, come, let me advance some drugs. I was given some drugs to put two kind of them, and one was to put on myself. And I know many have gone through this, and this is the part that people hate me when I talk about this part. A lot of men have gone through this part. You take a liver, the liver meat.
Liver.
Yeah.
Of an animal.
Yes.
Like cow?
Like a cow.
Yeah, but it's a liver. And then you put a small portion of it in your private parts. It has to sleep there.
Okay, so we can speak on the mic. These people don't need to miss this point. Yeah. You said you get a liver? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then a portion of it, you put it on your private part.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the morning, you shave your armpits and your private part. Now, this is the lady doing this. And then when you do that, you're supposed to take that hair, you put it in a hot pan. When you put hair in a hot pan,
it melts.
Yes, not melting, it becomes like flour.
Unga.
Yes, unga.
Like flour, okay.
Yes. So you put that one maini, the liver which was inside, you put it in that hair, and then you use the drugs that you're given there, and then you feed a man. No, you're going to cook the other maini, the other livers, but on his plate, you're going to put this one.
And you feed him with that.
You make sure he has eaten.
Honey, let me feed you. Oh my God.
Yes. Men who like to sleep around. Or...
Okay, so I mean, I know that's a little. It's a little extreme. I mean, that's a whole, like I said, whole interview. Very, very interesting interview. If y'all want to check it out, it's a whole 2 hour and 15 minutes. She basically goes on to talk about her whole journey, how she got into prostitution, which is again very common for women who fall in hard times financially. They don't have any support, et cetera, et cetera. And then basically how she got caught in the game and she wanted to get to where she was making enough money at any means possible. And she saw prostitutes out there who were making the most money and found that some of them were engaging in these basically dark magic to attract men. And that's what she started doing. So it's a whole downward spiral. So listen, I'm not saying that this is the case necessarily for Mr. Shannon Sharpe and the alleged, Jane Doe, who I think since has been revealed as Gabriela Zaninga. I'm not saying that she's out here putting liver in private parts. I'm not saying that. We don't know. But what I am saying is that any time a man gets caught up in this game, running in a circle of prostitutes and IG models and OnlyFans, it is a recipe for disaster. It is a problem waiting to happen on some level. On some level. It's just a problem. And I mentioned this in my video that I posted earlier today, where it was like, God's been warning dudes since day one to not get caught up with these prostitutes, to not be caught up with a woman who have this kind of behavior. Like, he's been warning them. And it's not because he's trying to keep y'all from having fun. It's not because none of that. It's like he's trying to save y'all. He's trying to save men from getting caught up and from getting their whole life, their whole reputation torn down from just a few minutes of intimacy. Because some of these ladies are extremely dark. It's not like, you know, yeah, some of them are out here just surviving. Some of them got put into sex work. Like, I understand there's a whole pipeline, particularly Black women in America, right, or in the West, being susceptible to getting forced into sex work really young and getting forced. And so I understand that there's some of that. But then there's also a portion who actively engage in dark things and actively use their body as a way to manipulate men and try to get the bag from men. This has been happening since day one. And this is still happening today. And it don't matter how powerful you are. It don't matter how successful. It don't matter how good. Nobody is exempt from this kind of behavior. Or from this kind of trap. And this is exactly what I believe is happening with Shannon Sharpe. I believe he got caught up just moving in his lower nature. You had Monique, who was out there trying to protect him. She was low-key joking, but low-key, high-key actually like, no, I'm trying to save you. Be like, stop messing with these hoes. Stop. That's not what you need. You need to get you a good woman around your age. Somebody, or just get you a woman that you can connect with, that on a real level, who can really take care of you and love you. Stop going around here spreading your seed with all these ladies, and don't be putting your seed in demons or ladies who are carrying demons or evil spirits. And I know some dudes want to sit up here and act like I don't exist, but all you have to do is hang out with one of these ladies and know that some ladies are beyond, their evilness goes beyond just human depravity. You know what I mean? It goes beyond just human depravity. Some darkness is so dark, you have to give it a name that is beyond the human realm. But anyways, I'm just saying that because I'm like, this is a dangerous game. It is a dangerous game. It's not, you play with fire, you get burned. And that's what I think is the most unfortunate thing about the scenario. And then obviously, you know, the obvious elephant in the room is the fact that he's Black and she's white. Here you got this old Black man over here with this young white chick. That don't make it any better. If anything, that just makes her case more appealing. And I think this is partially why you got the whole world up in a tizzy over a sex worker, OnlyFans model. The reason that people are taking her seriously is because this is a young white girl. That's why you got the internet over here, like really taking her words to heart. Not just because we live in a society that is Western and a lot more liberal, and that, you know, actually legitimizes sex work as a form of expression. Not just because of that, but also because, you know, her being a young white girl, and then him being an old Black man. And it's like, we know this is pulling on some really old historical tropes that have been going on in America. Like, of course, that is, it just speaks to that. And I think that's also why this case, that perhaps in any other culture or with a different context or with different characters, wouldn't have gotten a lot of play. Like, I'm trying to imagine a scenario in which, like, imagine Shannon Sharpe was white and it was just some, I don't know, like Tom Brady. Let's say Tom Brady, whatever. And some white prostitute was like, oh, he tried to take advantage of me. Like, I mean, do y'all think, correct me if I'm wrong, do y'all think it'd be the same, do you think it'd be the same energy if it was like a really white successful player or a media personality, and then some white prostitute was like, oh, he took advantage of me? Like, do y'all think that would get the same play? I'm curious, because I wonder how much race plays into this. How much race, how much age, all of that. So you said, fellas, if she's never seen a Martin TV, like, she too, yeah. And not every dude out there is trying to be with a lady that is half his age. Not every lady or man out there is trying to be with a female that could be his daughter. Some find that attractive or appealing on some level. right? But there are plenty of dudes out there who are like, no, I actually want to be able to converse in a conversation with you. I don't want to feel like I'm babysitting. So, yeah, you said that, Tracy Ellis Ross. Listen, that one. I mean, there are whole videos. There are whole videos of older women essaying younger men on television, and it's not, nobody says it, nobody blinks. Nobody blinks. You said he could be as, that's true. That's true. I mean, she's like, I think 22, 23 now. He 56. I, listen, I don't, the whole thing to me is bizarre. But really, at the end of the day, like I said, when you play with fire, you get burned. That's really what this comes down to. You start messing with 3 or 4s, you start messing with ladies who are in survival mode. So because they're in survival mode, they're trying to take advantage of you to get as much money at best. Right? They're trying to get a buck, and they'll use whatever they can to get a buck. So that's the best case scenario. The worst case scenario is you get caught up with a lady who's into some dark magic, right? Who's praying to her deity or her demon to try to take advantage of you. That's like the worst case scenario. But in either case, this is not an ideal situation. No man, particularly a man who has a reputation, who has means, who has a legacy to protect, should go impart his seed and some random chick he met on IG who was using her body, treating her body like a trash can, quite frankly. Like there's no value in that. It's actually a lot safer and a lot better off to find a woman that is worth committing to, that you find attractive, that can work with you. You know what I mean? Like that's so much better than just having a rotation. Because after a while, that starts to really, not only can it start to weigh on a man, but it can start to put his legacy at harm. And it's crazy to believe that this entire man's entire reputation, his honor is on the line over a 20-something-year-old, over a few intimate moments with a 20-something-year-old. Y'all see how quickly this stuff, but that's why Most High been saying shit since day one. Stay away from these prostitutes. Stay away from these hoes. Stay away from these 304s. Don't deal with them. And some of y'all get it. But some dudes, they get money or they get fame, they get a little bit of options, and they forget. And it's crazy. It's like as attractive as Shannon Sharpe is, and as many, I'm sure there's plenty of women who would be happy to be with him without all that money. But for some reason, he had to get a lady that he had to pay for that could be his granddaughter, some of y'all said, and it just blew up in his face. I don't understand that. You said Umar Johnson popping shit. It can cost you millions. A few moments of intimacy can cost you millions and your reputation and your honor. Now he's fighting for his career and his name. Who wants to be in a position where they are fighting for their name and their honor? That's so much deeper. That's a lot deeper than just money. I mean, look, the money, that's, 50 million, that's no cheap shot. But it's deeper than that. It's his honor and his legacy he's now fighting for. And nobody should ever want to get themselves in that situation. Literally. That's to me is so much worse than just you being out of money. Now it's your legacy, it's your name, it's people, it's you have your most intimate moments, your kinks and all that kind of stuff, all the things that you like, all the things that should be private and hidden now is up for public discourse. And this is actually a man who really likes to be private. We don't know a ton about his personal life except that which has been forced in the limelight. That's humiliating. It is humiliating. And it could be avoided if dudes just stayed away from hoes. It could be avoided if you just stayed away from these hoes. Stay away from them. It's not worth it. It's really not. It's just not worth it. And some of you guys are already aware of this. Your name is all you have when it's said and done, that part right there. So I was reading, there was a few scriptures I came across that was speaking to this. This one I thought was so crazy. Let me see. Because I see when I was like, oh, that's so crazy. Wait, I'm missing it right now. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm all over the place right now. But basically, I posted something. Maybe I'll have to go back and post it in another part. Where basically just talks about, oh, this is what it says. For the lips of an immoral woman drip honey, and her mouth is smoother than oil. But in the end, she is bitter as wormwood, sharp as a two-edged sword. Her feet go down to death. Her steps lay hold of hell. Basically, you're talking about like, okay, when you get with a girl, it may feel good initially, but then basically, like your whole life is going to be destroyed. That's what it's like. What it's like to actually engage with a woman who is this dark. Is your life can be destroyed. He need both. He need both. Because what I'm saying is, you have now within the last couple of months, you've had two examples where his honor has been put in line because of his sexual practices, because of the whole IG thing. What was it with Michelle? What's her name? Right, that thing that happened a few months ago. That was a humiliation ritual, and now this. So I would argue that he needs both. He needs a good lawyer, but also has to take a step back and be like, okay, why do I keep on getting myself involved with these hoes who are actually now to the point to where like my reputation and the things that I do, the life that I've built, the legacy that I've created is now being undermined because of these females that don't mean anything to me other than the few minutes that I'm with them or other than the few hours I've spent. Like, it's not like these are women who really have a ton of, like these aren't women who are intimately connected to them. A lot of these ladies are probably just flings, just side piece for a little bit of time until he moves on. And like, that's nothing serious. That's nothing serious. And to think that a man's legacy and his honor could be on the line for something that's not serious, to me, is the biggest problem. So that's why I'm like, nah, I think you need both. You need to understand what God has been saying to you since day one. Why there are certain things that he says do not do. It's not just, oh, this is just some old outdated way of living. It's like, no, there are some principles, there are laws in the universe that are in effect. Whether or not people are aware of it, whether or not people know about it, whether or not people like it, there are laws that are always in effect. If you throw a ball up in the air, it is going to hit the ground because of the law of gravity. You may not know about gravity. You may not understand. You may not even see it, but it's in effect. So that's what I'm saying. There are certain things that have been set up by the Most High, by our Creator, that if we don't understand it and we step outside of those norms, we can get all kinds of screwed up and be hella confused. And it's like, you don't need to be confused. Like the manual's been there since day one. You just didn't study to understand it. You just don't understand it. So, but yeah, I mean, this is a mess. It's sloppy, and it don't have to be sloppy. I mean, something as simple as like, don't sleep with 3 or 4. And if you, for some reason, if you can't stop messing with these hoes, if all you are attract are prostitutes or OnlyFans models, if that's the only thing you thirst after, then you probably there's something deeper going on there. Maybe perhaps there are some lust issues. Maybe there are some, what is it? What's that term? Is there some sexual addiction? Is it just, you didn't watch too much porn, and there are some ideas about sexuality and relationship that are not based upon reality, that are based upon fantasy. Like, I mean, I don't know, but I'm just saying, if it gets to where a person's sexual life starts to actually negatively impact their day-to-day life and undermine their day-to-day life, it is worth investigating if there's something deeper going on there. That's all I'm saying. So, yeah, and this is something I'm saying, if he just led with money. To my understanding, that's the whole thing about it. To my understanding, this was a situation that started off with money. But I don't know. It's confusing because there's those text messages where she's talking about $25K a cheek. And then, he was willing to do the $10 million settlement. Oh, that's what I meant to look over the $10 million settlement. I'll just leave you guys a link to it. You can look it up, because there is some people who came out and were explaining a little bit about the $10 million settlement and what that meant. But really, the bigger point here is, this is a case study, and don't get caught up with hoes. Don't get caught up with hoes, because when you do, it can cost you everything, and it's really not worth it. And nobody wants to be in this situation. I think sometimes people get to a point where they're so successful, or they've been doing something for so long, they don't think it's going to catch up with them, and unfortunately, it does. And as I mentioned before, I like, part of me wants her to be right just because I hate the idea of a woman going and lying to the point of destroying a man's career in this level. Like, to me, that seems so evil and insidious. But then also, I understand that there are women out there who really are that evil and insidious. And so, at best, if a woman is sleeping around with a 304 or a prostitute, at best, you're engaging with a woman who is in survival mode and is out there to manipulate you and get as much money as she can. That's the best case scenario. The worst case scenario is that you're dealing with a woman who is either filled with some evil spirits, who is engaging in dark magic or engaging in these dark practices. Like I said, love potions, dealing with witch doctors, trying to put love spells on you, trying to do different things to trap you so that you give her money consistently. That's like the worst case scenario. And then some instances, those women will try to trap you either through a pregnancy or through some other way, through a false accusation. Like, they'll do other things to try to trap you as a way to try to get money from you. They see you as a cha-ching of their retirement plan. That's the worst case scenario. But either way, it's a situation you just don't want to end up in. I mean, listen, y'all know that I promote marriage. I support marriage. I think marriage is the answer. Like, in a situation like this, it's like, go on ahead and get you a woman that actually cares for you, that you can love, and y'all can work something out. That's a lot safer. That's a lot safer than sleeping around with these women who are looking at you as a target. And I understand that there are issues associated with marriage. Yes, I'm not saying it's perfect. But first of all, it's a lot better scenario than what's going on with him right now. And secondly, like, if you actually are with a good woman, then marriage is not, it's not a risk if you're with the right woman. Marriage only becomes a risk if you marry a prostitute. If you marry an OnlyFans model and you marry a prostitute, then I don't know what to tell you. But if you marry a wife who actually is a wife, then marriage actually ends up being a benefit. And it ends up saving you from a whole bunch of BS. That's all the thing. So, I see. What are your advice for you? Sign up. So good question. Sign up for my consultation if you haven't already. I'll leave you guys a link. I am still in the process of collecting data right now for dating and relationships. It's been a really interesting journey I've on. I've had the opportunity to hear quite a few different people, their story, some of their challenges with respect to their relationship, and actually some of their desires. I just spoke with a whole bunch of different women this week earlier from a college campus. So if you haven't already, you can sign up for my consultation where I talk specifically about relationships to answer your question. I won't be able to cover that off at this particular moment. So yeah, sign up if you haven't, and pass it along to anyone who you think might be interested, because this situation also underscores the importance of marriage and underscores the importance of being in a solid, healthy relationship. How that can actually be a protection to a man when he has money, when he has resources, when he has a legacy. We can think of men right now who have been in a public eye who haven't really had a lot of scandals. I'm thinking like Denzel Washington, Samuel L. Jackson. You guys can probably think of some off the top of your head. I'm thinking of men who have, what was his name? Tay Diggs. He just did something not too long ago with his wife he's been married to with 25 years. I'm thinking of men off the top of my head, successful Black men who are, or no, was it Tay Diggs or Morris Chestnut? I may be messing them up. I have to see. But anyways, I posted it a few months ago. I'm thinking of just celebrities and actors who have no shortage of Black, or just no shortage of women around them who are actively probably always trying to get in their pants, but they're in a successful long-term relationship. And you don't see a lot of scandal around them. You don't see scandal around them at all. And they've been in the industry for decades. And it's not because they haven't seen scandal. It's not because they haven't probably seen mess, but they've avoided a lot of it because they go home every single day to a consistent family, to someone that they are committed to, who's committed to them. And that eliminates a lot of this extra energy that comes with all these IG models or all these OnlyFans models who are trying to use rich men as a target and as a retirement plan. So now that one, I don't know if they would consider that a scandal. I don't know what that was about though. I thought that was weird. I was like, you didn't gone this strong for however many decades, and then all of a sudden, to me, that seemed like a political move. That seemed very like fabricated. Like he talked to somebody
And that seemed a little, because it seems inconsistent with what his character has been for pretty much almost the entirety of his career. But when I say scandal, I mean as far as like we haven't heard any grape accusations, women coming out and being like, or men for that matter, coming out and being like, oh, he did this to me, that to me. Now we're questioning his whole thing. You know what I mean? So anyways, y'all, I didn't want to be too long on this. I'm sure there's going to be more to cover with this whole topic. But yeah, it's a mess. Y'all let me know what y'all think. And yes, you're right. Listen, let me also say this, because some people say, okay, I'm gonna go overseas. It's gonna be safer. Some people are gonna say, well, I'm not gonna date at all. That's safer. Anytime you're dealing with any woman anywhere, it's going to be risk associated with it. Period. It is what it is. Now, in the West, there's more issues to a certain extent. There's a certain mentality you're getting in the West that you may not get in a more traditional country abroad. You might be more likely to find a woman who's primed to be a wife because the culture cultivates that. So I understand that. But anytime you're dealing with a woman or another human being, there's always going to be a risk associated with it. I'm a firm believer that a good woman, a prudent woman, is something that you have to find. God has to guide you to her. Because sometimes you just don't really know. A woman can put on a good front. She can do all kinds of different things for a matter of time. But time has a way of revealing any and everything. But sometimes dudes can get caught up, way too late because she looks a particular way, or if the sex is good, or, like some dudes really be getting caught. So I think to avoid that, you really need to be developing a relationship with the Most High, who can actually point you to a good woman and help you discern whether or not a woman is legitimate and whether or not she's good, or whether or not she's just out here lying and putting on a front. And also, like, I do think it's important to not rush into relationships, because anybody can lie for a certain amount of time. But if you give a woman enough time and space to be in different scenarios and see how she reacts under pressure and different dynamics, then also you can always get a better understanding of whether or not someone is legitimate or not. Those are just my initial thoughts. But anyways, we can talk about it more later on. Chicks overseas, like I said, anywhere you're gonna have women, you're gonna have somebody who's skanky, you're gonna have somebody who's good. That just comes with it. It comes with it. The overseas, they still have access to Western media. So there are certain places in certain countries where women they look up to Western ideals or look up to American ideals because they think it's better. That happens. But also there are women out there who are still very much connected to their culture, who are still very modern, traditional. I mean, the world is huge. It's huge. So it just depends on the person. Anyways, y'all, that's what I have. Let me know what you think. Also, like I said, if you haven't already, be sure to sign up for my 15-minute consultation if you're interested, or pass it along to someone. I'm in the process also of still collecting data. If you know people like in college, or just people who are actively in the dating and mating market and have a story to tell and or would be interested in being included in the study, let me know. You can send over the information and it should be fun. Anyways, guys, thanks for hanging out, and we'll talk later, okay? Bye.